So thank you to the European Film Festival for bringing down this amazing film called Save Sandra. We have with us two of the directors and the makers of the film, Jan Verheyen and Lien Willaert. Maybe we can start out with regard to this, what I felt was extremely well crafted, heartbreaking and poignant story that resonates with many people across the world. Can you tell us what motivated you to make this film?
Well, first of all, thank you for your very nice words about our film. It's always good to hear that people, I can't say enjoyed it, but that the film made an impression, that the film moved them. The reason that we wanted to tell the story is, apart from how dramatic it is and how it influenced the life of this family, it's a good story. And as filmmakers, you're always on the lookout for a good story, and preferably a good story that resonates with you long after you've left the cinema. We both like films that ask you the question, what would you do? I mean, in this case, what would you do if you were the mother or the father of this child? What actions would you take? At what point would you rationally accept what is going on? Or would you choose to ignore that and continue your fight, even though you might ask the question, is the fight still for Sandra, or is it now a personal fight? Has it become something between the father and this pharma giant? So it's a film that raises a lot of questions, and it's a film that is based on a true story, which kind of confirms that, as you always say.
Yeah, the truth is sometimes stranger than fiction.
If we would have written this story, if we would have just came up with it, people would probably not believe it. We would be accused of, you're exaggerating and this can't happen, not in Europe, not in. So the fact that it really did happen is maybe the most shocking aspect of the film.
And really everything in the film really happened, even the things that are unbelievable.
That's quite incredible, and I love the script, Lien. I thought it was amazing. It's crisp. It's, you are taken on a journey in this film, completely taken on a journey. And on that point, how true did you stay to the story? And how did you ensure that there was no litigation from Big Pharma? Because, it's out there for the public to view internationally. And were you afraid of any comeback?
The names of Sandra, William, and Olga, they are true, but all the other names from the pharmaceutical industry and all the other names were fiction. So, and I have evidence of everything. I had their diaries, and I had
all
every
the correspondence.
emails. I have everything. They recorded every conversation. So they were.
So Sandra's case is extremely well documented. The only reason we changed the name, because at first we wanted to simply call everything by name, the company in the UK, the company in Denmark, but because I was kind of hoping they would litigate, because in this case, litigation would have been great publicity, because whatever they do, I mean, you can litigate the hell out of it, but you will still not win. I mean, the public will see what has been going on and will always side with the massage. So we weren't exactly afraid of that, but since we're not the producers of the film, they prefer to change the name slightly, knowing very well, I mean, Lisa, if you go to the internet and you type in Sandra Massar, within 30 seconds, the names of every company involved. So it's a bit like if you would write a novel, it would be what is called a roman à clé, a novel where even though the names are changed, it's very easy to find out who it is about. And yes,
Absolutely.
to answer the other part of the question, we did stay, as Lien said, we did stay very close to the truth. We condensed some of the because in fact a lot more happened, but you don't want it to be. You don't need to show it in every excruciating detail. We picked elements out of their journey, and I think it's pretty much balanced. I think it is definitely, as Lien said, nothing that you see has been invented, but some key characters are missing. Not everybody who was involved at some point in this story is in the film, but the key figures are definitely there.
Wow. One of the key elements of the movie, and I want to speak about the collaborative process of making this film. You know, for the first time, both of you worked together, but also the acting was a tour de force. You know, it was incredible, the acting that you got from your actors. And I also thought the little girl was amazing in her portrayal. As a first-time actor. So how did you achieve that?
Yeah, that's why this film was the right film for directing together. First, we always said there can only be one captain on the ship, but for this film we made an exception. The lead role was for Rosalie, who played Sandra, every Wednesday afternoon, I went to Rosalie and we played together. We did crafts, we did games, and playfully I helped her into that character. And it was really necessary for that film. But if Jan had did that, playing every Wednesday afternoon with
a 7-year-old girl.
Therefore,
so it made sense. And Lien is much more patient with children than I am. Her first films, her short films, are also coincidentally about children as well, with children in the lead. So basically, Lien worked with Rosalie and the two lead actors, so the mother, the father, and the child, and try to keep them
in a bubble.
Yes.
Retreat in a bubble while
even because a film set is a hive of activity and a lot of stress and pressure from time and the weather and all of that. So Lien and her three actors try to remain in a bubble, oblivious of everything that was going on around them. And I worked with the supporting cast and the logistics of the filmmaking. Of course, once you call action, we both were looking at the monitor, and I could comment on the performances of the three leads, and Lien could comment on the choice of the cinematography or whatever. So it was a collaborative effort. But as far as what we did on the set, that was more or less how we divided the work.
Beautiful. Congratulations on that, I have to say. And then I loved the animation. It was extremely whimsical. And what was the reason that you brought in that element into the film? I mean, it's beautiful in that it mirrors the journey of Sandra, but why did you make that decision to actually include the animation?
Two things. It's the world of the child, and it is at one point it's the only communication between the father and the daughter. And in real life, William was also telling stories until the very last moment. And the second reason was because it's a style. It's a style for the movie. It gives something more than only.
Yeah, you see, it was. Although the story of Sandra is quite unique in a sense, there are a lot of films out there about, you know, I don't want to sound disrespectful, but the disease of the disease of the week movie, and they all look the same. They all look like, you know, made for television, and we wanted to find a way to make sure that Red Sandra, Save Sandra, also had cinematic qualities, because we're in the house a lot, we're in hospitals a lot. So first of all, we try to find locations that were visually interesting, not just a house, not just an hospital, but we try to make it, as soon as we leave the house, that it becomes visually interesting. And in order to give it a specific style, we married those two elements. The idea of working, as the father does, with the fantasy world of the child, to communicate to her what is happening and the decisions that have to be made, and involve her in those decisions in a very subtle way. We use that as a style, as a stylistic element as well. And I agree with you that it does make a difference, that it makes the film lighter somehow, even though the subject matter is pretty tough. It helps to make the film lighter, more colorful, more playful, and it distinguishes it from, you know, other disease movies, so to speak.
Absolutely. I thought it was really a lovely stroke of genius, including the animation to represent what was going on in Sandra's mind as well as her dad, and to, like you said, to add a lightness into what was quite a heavy subject matter. And I think that would have been your concern as filmmakers. How do you make that broad appeal? As traditional filmmakers, where you want the big cinema release, what did COVID do on this journey? You know, it took away all of that, but in a sense, it makes the film more impactful, because now we're dealing with big pharma, and we're dealing with this incredible hegemony over vaccines and how it gets around the world and who does it get to, etc. So can you talk to us a little bit about the impact of COVID, not just on the release and distribution of the film, but the fact that it doesn't seem to be getting its big cinema release, which it rightfully deserves?
Well, we waited a year. The film was initially scheduled to be released in Belgium, in its home country, at the end of October of last year. And at some point, we made a decision to wait, to sit it out, so to speak. So the film now opens at the end of October of this year. Now, thankfully, it's a film and not a fruit, because fruit rots after a year, a film doesn't. So the film is as fresh and as interesting, I hope, and as relevant as it was a year ago, maybe even more relevant because of the reasons you just mentioned. We are now all suddenly aware of the grip that big pharma has, and the fact that we have accepted that the word health industry exists. I mean, how can our health be an industry, so to speak? Obviously, I understand how it works, but maybe we've allowed it to come too far. And there are, in the meantime, so many examples of the greed and brutal capitalism of those companies, while even on that level, I mean, and I understand that they have shareholders, and the shareholders have to be kept happy, but there has to be a balance between the fact that we're talking about human lives, about the quality of human life, the accessibility of healthcare, and the profit that has to be made by companies, which I completely understand. I mean, I want to be paid for the work that I do, so I completely understand that, but I have the feeling that the balance is completely out of it. And that is, I think, what makes the film. It's about an orphan disease. There are not that many people that have MLD, but there are many people who have other orphan diseases. So, and the whole discussion about the price of medication. And I mean, I don't know how it works in South Africa, but in Belgium we have a pretty good system in place where the state organizes healthcare, But even the state, even the budget of the state is not limitless. So we now have arrived at a point where very difficult choices have to be made. And that's a discussion that is also an element of the film. If you need 1 million euros to not save the life of a child, but to just to stabilize the disease, if you compare that to what else you could do with 1 million euros, how many other people can be helped, then you understand how incredibly difficult, morally, ethically, that discussion is. And Sandra, Save Sandra, is about more than just Sandra, even though, I mean, it's a fascinating and important story. It's about how the world, I mean, we're getting, everybody lives longer. Everybody lives longer, which is great. We also have to thank that the pharma for that as well. Let's not forget that the general quality of life has been helped by big pharma as well. They're not one-dimensional bad guys. It's not as simple as that. I wish it was as simple as that. But as we live longer and longer, and as more and more medication is being invented, this whole discussion about what it can cost and what it can cost for the community, that becomes a very important element.
I think that Jan and Lien, I think we come to the end of this conversation too quickly. I think it was remarkable talking to you. But is there any ending notes that you would like to make about the film before we leave?
Well, I'm going to say something that might be a bit sentimental, but it's what we did while preparing, and what Lien did when writing the film. In fact, that's such a nice story. We have a daughter ourselves, which was more or less the age of Sandra when we started the project. She's 50 now, and Lien works when she writes. She's at home, obviously, and
it was. I was sitting at my desk weeping, and then I went to my daughter and gave her a hug, and then she said, "Oh, are you writing a sad scene again?" And I was so happy that I could hug her.
So the message is, don't take happiness for granted, and maybe give your children a hug once in a while. I mean, that's what we did.
Thank you both, Jan and Lien, and I encourage everybody to go watch this movie. I think it's an incredible movie, and I thank you both for making it.
Thank you for having us, and I hope that people who have already seen it when watching this liked it, and I hope that the people who haven't seen it yet are encouraged by our little talk to see it and let us know what they think. Thank you very much.
Excellent.